doesn't mean you have the power to change the weather or manipulate psychic powers, but it does mean this. Knowing the basic elements of color will help you control and design what's happening in the world of your image. But to explain the elements of a single color would be difficult without showing them in the context of other colors. So I'll explain the elements by using scales. The 6 elements of colors are value, saturation, neutral, temperature, texture, opacity. Value is the relative darkness or lightness of a color. If we look at a color in varying degrees of value, it's easier to understand the value of the color if we slowly take away the chroma or vibrancy of the color. Saturation, also known as vibrancy or chroma, is the colorfulness or the perceived intensity of a specific color. It can be very colorful, vibrant, or lacking in vibrancy. If you remove the chroma of a color, you're neutralizing it. Neutral is the lack of chroma in a color. If a color is lacking in vibrancy, it's considered neutral. Here's a scale of color that demonstrates its most vibrant version to its most neutral by adding black. By combining it with its complement, or combining it with 3 primaries. And by adding 2 colors opposite in temperature, you can also neutralize a color. Temperature is the degree to which a color appears to be warm or cool to the touch. With a cool color on one end of the scale and a warm on the other end, the colors in the middle are neutral in temperature and overall vibrancy. Texture is the appearance of the surface of a color in relationship to how it might feel to the touch. Colors can be highly textured or minimally so, but the variation affects the overall appearance of the color. In the examples here, the colors vary in the kind of texture as they might relate to different applications of media and style: graphic, painted, digital, drawn, etched, etc. Opaque, translucent, and transparent color is dependent on the amount of light passing through a color. Opaque color does not let the light pass through it. Translucent allows sunlight to pass through, and transparent color allows all the light to pass through. Controlling the balance of value, vibrancy, neutrality, temperature, texture, and level of transparency is a way to harness the power of your imagery. And summoning the power of the elements in your visual world can feel like you're controlling the universe. The word value has a few implications, but here, value in color refers to the relative lightness or darkness of a color. We can easily understand value when an image is black and white, but it's harder to know the value of a color when it's in color. Though it's absolutely critical that we do understand this, as it has a direct impact on the color relationship in a piece. piece. Here are some examples of an assignment that I give to the students in my color course at RISD, where they create a self-portrait of their other alternative personality, whatever that might be. The watercolor palette is limited to 3 primary colors, and the goal is to create variation in value and hue by creating a harmonious palette while maintaining the focus on value arrangement. They each have to scan their image in black and white. If we look at these paintings in value next to the color version, we can see that they all still hold up as compositions without the chroma. The balance of value is varied amongst the pieces. The first one displays an excellent use of graphic shapes for a pleasing composition with a full range of value. The next uses a high contrast of light to dark, exploring a focused blast of color. This one uses a dramatic contrast of value with a main focus on the eyes. Then these last two use texture, shape, and light with value to compose their paintings. Each of the examples demonstrates the power of value in the color. If we remove value range from the paintings, the composition and overall contrast disappears, making the portraits far less interesting to the eye. Having some measure of value range and contrast helps an image become more readable and allows the colors to react to each other in an overall relationship. Without a range of dark to light, the color appears in a kind of gray zone and is far less interesting. The easiest way to check this is to look at a piece in Photoshop under Image, then Adjustments in the black and white setting. You might have to play with the contrast or adjust the overall value of an area of color to darken or lighten it. Seeing the image in black and white tonal range can help you make the adjustments needed. Either way, when it comes to color, there's definitely value to having value. The saturation of a color, also referred to as chroma or vibrancy, is the colorfulness or perceived intensity of a specific color. Saturation is just as important as the value in constructing an image. Like value, it's important to control the range of vibrant to neutral colors in the composition of a piece. Vibrancy can also provide a focal point, act as a messenger for meaning, and create a more primal reaction in human beings than value alone. The poster for the Claremont Lounge uses value, quantity of color, saturation, and texture contrast to start the eye at the top and move it back and forth like a pinball machine down to the base of the poster. The large circular shape of red with contrasting green is a color combination repeated throughout the poster, but is most intense at the top of the piece and reduced as we move down to the bottom of the type in the image. The additional texture of the hat, dark value of the heads against the red circle at the top also help to force the viewer to look there, even in a vibrantly colorful piece as this. Let's look at this poster S-Spot, which uses one of the complements of orange, a mint green, to provide contrast and focus on the names of the bands. The value, contrast with the dark hair, pulls the viewer's eye up and then over to the date as the yellow pops in the field of red. Less so than the green, but still with distinction. The eye follows the vertical shape of type to the next body of text, then finally to the right-hand corner, and hopefully vertically again to the names of the bands. It's designed to be read counterclockwise, an interesting choice that likely reflects something about the artists and their music. The color is vibrant overall, but still demonstrates a hierarchy, with the names of the bands standing out most, and some competition with the logo, but being a large quantity of color seems to win the battle. Both of these posters use vibrancy at the revved up end of the scale. But what if we turn the vibrancy volume way down? Neutral is the lack of chroma in a color. If a color is lacking in vibrancy, it's considered neutral. How do you react to the images then? I wonder if the sense of the music or the tone of the event has changed. Remember, the color is telling us something about the vitality of the music and the experience. Without it, the message changes. We associate vibrancy of color with energy and life. Take a look at this painting of two strawberries. Like a young, healthy couple in love, they look welcoming and delicious. But turn the volume down on them alone or the whole painting, and they seem not so young, not so delicious. They look like life is drained away. As human beings, we respond to vibrancy of color as a sign of life and are drawn to it. If you use saturation to pull the eye to a specific spot in an image or to impart meaning or simply to kick up the energy level and vitality you're trying to express in an image, then you're using saturation successfully. So go ahead, take a bite out of life and express yourself with vibrancy.